So, Karl, what's your favourite Yu-Gi-Oh card?
Oh, well,
It's not Man-Eater Bug.
Nobleman Man-Eater Bug, which kills 2 cards at once. Hey, you tried cashing me out, you didn't know. Man-Eater Bug all day, get fucked. Within the context of the Yu-Gi-Oh universe, Seto Kaiba is a multi-millionaire, big dick CEO who decides to dedicate an inordinate amount of his time to playing a card game. A card game, it should be noted, he's so ruthlessly addicted to, he once straight up fucking murdered somebody to take their best card.
So which card is this?
It is, of course, the Blue Eyes White Dragon, a Colgate white engine of destruction capable of launching a beam of concentrated sexual dragon energy at the opponent, which can, in some circumstances, completely obliterate their life points in a single ego-withering hit.
I don't know much about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
But isn't the Blue Eyes White Dragon super shit now?
Oh yeah, most cards from the original run that people like myself and other people just got into Yu-Gi-Oh! At school will be familiar with are completely useless nowadays, except in... No, Man-Eater Bug still wins. Man-Eater Bug's a turn. Do not fucking insult Man-Eater Bug. You're getting me off my stride. Anyway, most of the cards people will be familiar with are pretty much useless now because of something called power creep, which for people who aren't familiar with the term is used to describe things like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or card games or anything where you've got to collect shit, where to keep encouraging people to buy the newest, hottest thing, it has to be better than the thing before it. And obviously Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been going on for over a decade at this point. The newest cards are miles better than the ones that are out there today, with the exception of a couple. I think Monster Reborn is too good, because obviously when the game was first released, a lot of the effects were really wide-reaching, and it's just simply bring back any monster that has been sent to the graveyard, which obviously it sounds like a simple effect, but with all the crazy bullshit that's in the latest version of the game, that is a really nebulously defined thing for a card to do that you can abuse in a multitude of ways. And I think another one is Pot of Greed, which nobody really knows what it does, but supposedly lets you draw 2 cards. And obviously that again is it's too powerful, given all the crazy bullshit you can do with the other newer cards. So the cards that are useless are banned outright. I did play quite a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was younger, and I still occasionally bust out my old deck when my friends and me feel the urge to duel. But as an example of how ridiculous modern decks are, a friend of mine bought a pre-made one online for about £7. Contains newer cards, and then our old decks that we'd spent literally years making were utterly trounced by this thing he bought online pre-made for £7, because the effects basically allowed him to just continually summon 3,000 attack point monsters. While we're just sat there going, I'll just play Soldier of Stone in defense position, 2,000 defense points. He's like, oh no, fuck you, do you not know about synchro monsters? That lets me summon 5 3,000 attack point monsters in one go, and I can attack 6 times. Oh. I hate when things stop being fun because they have to make the newer thing better, which means you can't enjoy the old thing that you used to.
Are there any cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That are now mocked, even though they used to be fantastic, they're now mocked for being shit?
Usually it's stuff like Blue Eyes White Dragon. Yeah. So although when it first came out, it was a 3,000 attack point monster in a game where you had 2,000 life points. And then you could summon it on your first turn. If you got it in your first hand, you could just summon it and then next turn you fucking win. Although, yes, today the card is pretty much useless. When it was first introduced in the anime and the manga, it was so overwhelmingly powerful. The only way to beat it was by literally pulling victory out of your arse via a combination of cards that didn't defeat it, but instantly ended the game. And I love that shit. Exodia is the best. I fucking love the idea of Exodia. It's if you get all 5 pieces in your hand, you win.
Yeah, I've seen one episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's that episode, because it's the first one.
The first episode.
And it's the bit where I remember watching it thinking, how can they make an entire series out of just a card game? And then when he's there going, I believe in the true power of the cards!
Well, that's the thing.
Believe... It's ridiculous.
Well, that's one of the versions of the game me and my friends play.
Yeah.
We play the Heart of the Cards version. What you do is you pick whatever cards you want and you put it to the side. And if you say, I believe in the Heart of the Cards, you can draw that card. Just like they're doing this season. If I believe in the heart, it will give me the card that I need.
Yeah.
And that's the version of the game we play.
I must have faith in my cards. I have faith in my cards. I have cards.
I love that aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! That the reason he wins so much is because he believes in the cards. And Seto Kaiba always no, it's all about having the strongest monster. No, but if I believe in the heart, I'll summon Exodia. think there's a great there's a video review out there of a Yu-Gi-Oh game where a guy's playing it against the computer, and in his very first turn, before he has a chance to play, the computer draws Exodia and ends the game before he even has a chance to do anything.
And I'm gonna beat the shit out of this fucker right here. It's always better to go second because you can't attack on your first turn. All right, fucking, that's great. What? Are you fucking kidding me?
I love all the edits people have done of Exodia, where it's like the 5 cards, and then in the middle between his legs they put little D. Which is a completely useless basic monster card. That's a dinosaur, but it's just called Little D. So, oh man, what's your like favourite dumb thing from like that era of shows? Because they were all out about the same time, weren't they?
Oh, he's in like Yu-Gi-Oh! Beyblade.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Beyblade, Pokemon and Digimon were all out around the same time when we were kids. Which one did you get most into? Because mine was Yu-Gi-Oh!
Pokemon. I mean, I watched a fair bit of Digimon, but I never watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Beyblades. I watched a lot of Pokemon.
Oh man, so I remember how dumb Beyblade was.
Beyblades was just, it was like Yu-Gi-Oh! I didn't understand how you can make a TV show out of something so...
Just let it rip. Digimon sucked so much ass because it made the mistake of like having animals and human like looking characters, and that's too weird. Like you've got the cool dinosaur, you got like, oh, Agumon, Greymon, Metal Greymon, that's fucking awesome. Then you've got like the weird ones that are like people, and I think that's one of the reasons that I never got into it, because like, yeah, with Pokemon, it's cool. I can imagine owning a Charizard, like a cool dragon creature that does my bidding. What are you going to do if you've got like a fucking 18-foot tall humanoid monster?
So tell us more about Kaiba and his Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Well, that's the thing, they weren't his Blue Eyes White Dragons, which we'll get to in a moment, but according to like in-universe Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore, there were only 4 Blue Eyes White Dragons in all of existence, which doesn't really make sense considering like it's also in-universe canon that it's a card game and that a company prints those cards. And I know that like, there are rare cards out there, but can you think of any fucking card game where there are 4 of one thing and that thing is the best thing in the entire game? So imagine how fucking stupid that would be. Like, that's pay to win on a scale that I can't even imagine. Because like, obviously I mentioned, like, the Blue Eyes White Dragon was the most powerful card in the game, and it could obliterate your opponent's life points in one turn on the first turn it's summoned. That, and Kaiba had 3 of them in his deck. And according to the manga, Kaiba was so obsessed with dominating this card game for children that he used the full extent of his company's might and resources to track them all down.
So Kaiba tracked down all 4 cards?
Yes, using his company's vast, near limitless resources.
But how did he get hold of them?
Well, the first one he acquired by using his company's resources to bankrupt the shit out of the owner, who understandably didn't want to sell one of the most powerful cards in existence. And then when obviously they were destitute, they were forced to sell it, and he acquired it that way. The next guy, he couldn't do this to, so he had like, some mafia goons beat the living piss out of them to make them more, more amenable to his offer of buying their card. And then the third guy, Kaiba convinced to commit suicide and then acquired the card that way. Yes, we're still talking about a manga about a fucking card game.
So you said there were 4 Blue Eyes White Dragons altogether though?
Yes.
So what happened to the 4?
Kaiba ripped it in half to be a dickhead.
It was fair. And look at the sweet prize I won.
Because obviously you're only allowed to have 3 of any one card in your deck. And obviously if he had all 3 Blue Eyesers, he's got no use for a 4th one. And he found out that the 4th one was being held by, I think, Yugi's grandpa. I know this is a fictional story, but can you just imagine that scenario being transplanted into the real world and hearing about, like, some multi-billionaire CEO of a huge, like, multinational corporation utilising the vast, unending resources of their company to like track down like a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh card.
But the most embarrassing part of it is that like it's now useless.
Yeah, and I'd say it's more embarrassing that in the first game he plays with all 3 losers. That's the best part about it. As much as we are dunking on Kaiba at the moment, I feel like we need to give him like big respect for just being that much of an asshole and absolutely loving it. I am a huge fan of characters in fiction who just act like dickheads and know it. Like the Draco Malfoy, he knows he's an asshole, and that's what makes him an even bigger asshole.
Well, there's a stereotypical character in a lot of like comedy movies who's always like the rich posh boy or the main like antagonist.
Yeah, the Seto Kaiba. The thing is though, that character's awesome. I love the dickhead character who knows they're a dickhead.
It's like pantomime levels of
it
villain,
isn't
it?
it? And the thing is, it's that lizard part of your brain that makes you go, oh, I fucking hate this guy. And it's such a simple thing. And it's obviously, it's taking advantage of like, the most primal instinct you have to go, fuck that guy. And it works every time. It's always awesome.
The other one that's similar category is the military guy. He's
Who's that?
another one where you get the guy who's like in the military who's always a dick to the main character because they're not in the military. Like, oh, we can handle it. There's a few examples of that throughout films as well. You know, the military guy, the wanker military guy.
No. Way to kill the conversation, Brad. Hey, that bit's going in. Like I've said, I used to play like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I tried to get back into it a few years back. I made a mistake. I went into a store that sold like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. When I was there, I saw something that I remember to this day because it was just so fucking ridiculous. And it was a guy buying booster packs, looking through it, and then tearing up the cards he didn't want and just throwing them on the floor. And the guy behind the counter came and just swept up all the ripped up cards and put them in the bin. So obviously they're useless to him, so he doesn't want them. And it's like I asked the guy, like, how often does that happen? All the time. So like, the character of Seto Kaiba is not actually that far out of the realm of possibility. So as I mentioned, there are rare Yu-Gi-Oh cards out there, and as I said earlier, my mate literally bought a deck that could beat all of ours. This game is pay to win. The idea that you can go into a competition not understanding how the game is played and literally just buy a deck that will let you win is fucking amazing. Pre-made as well, and it tells you how to play it. Because my mate didn't understand what any of the cards did. It came with a piece of paper saying, this is how you win. Do this, and when you get this card, make it do this effect. And he literally read from a piece of paper and beat us all handily like 3 times in a row. Now, obviously, I imagine that would be kind of frustrating if that happened to you on a weekly basis, but to experience it just once was absolutely hilarious because we were all pissed out of our mind just going, how do we beat this?
This is why I refuse to get, like, a lot of people keep telling me to get back into Magic, but I refuse to do it because if you want to play, like, with anyone nowadays, you have to buy all new cards in the newest set.
Not to mention the people who play those kind of games, like, it requires a very specific kind of personality. And I say, I border on having that personality. I am competitive to a degree, but as anyone, like, you know me, you know I only want to win via doing something stupid or cool. So I don't mind if I lose 10 in a row as long as I can win, like, via Man-Eater Bug. And it only wins like 1 time out of 10. But that 1 time it does win, when you're getting killed by a little man-eater bug and I put all the fucking bug armor on it and I give it like basically acts of despair, so my man-eater bug now has 3,000 attack points, you shit your pants. And that tactic would never work against someone who plays the game seriously, and they'll probably get annoyed about it. There are probably people watching right now who are getting annoyed at me talking about it. And it's kind of sad to think that we can no longer enjoy the hobbies we enjoyed as kids because of people taking them way too seriously.
To sum this up, though, Kaiba was just a dickhead rich kid who used his money to get what he wanted.
Oh yeah, he's that kid on like insert whatever online shooter or video game you happen to play at the moment who just uses his mum's credit card to just buy his way to victory. And you know what? That is so relatable. That's so relatable for, like, I'm going to guess, a significant margin of the Yu-Gi-Oh player base. That, like, one of the most famous and popular characters from it literally bought his way into getting the best fucking cards and then used them to stomp noobs. You know what? Well, I bet Kaiba felt like a big man right up until Exodia swaggered in with his dick hanging out and showed him what for.
I collected Pokemon cards and Magic cards, but Yu-Gi-Oh was just one I never got into. I always wondered if I was missing out.
No, consider yourself lucky, mate. You are lucky you never got into it because it is, 1, a time sink, and 2, an absolute fucking waste of money. Because as I mentioned, like, they just keep releasing better cards, and the only way to stay competitive is just like to sink an obscene amount of money into the hobby. And I'm glad that I got out when I did, because now I'm an adult with a job that, you know, pays okay. I would be fucking skint if I was doing a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh.
You can just tell someone's going to get you back into it, and you'll be like, well, I could just dip into the Fat Fiend coffers a little bit.
No, it's every couple of months, like, me and my mates, we do get into it, and what we'll do is we'll all spend like a tenner on like a job lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and like make a deck from it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's fine. I'm pretty sure I will never fall completely back into it though. And I don't want to paint the entire Yu-Gi-Oh card playing community with the same brush, but my experience with people who take it quite seriously has not been like very nice, to put it diplomatically. And it's not something I ever see myself getting back into. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of messages from people asking me to get back into it to play with them. And I do occasionally play Yu-Gi-Oh every now and again, but I don't think I'm going to go into any tournaments anytime soon, so don't ask me to do that. I'm happy to appreciate it from afar and, like, you know, dip my toes in every now and again. And I think that's enough for me. Because then I still have those memories of playing it as a kid in my head. And it's not tarnished in any way by, like, you know, just like a table flip or something like that.